SUDA Pharmaceuticals is Michael Baker. Michael, good morning.
Good morning, Andrew.
Good to see you, Michael. You've had your half-year update out recently. Before we talk through some of the detail within it, just give us a little reminder about SUDA.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for having me on the program. So SUDA is an ASX-listed biotechnology company. And what we do is we have a platform and we specialize in taking drugs as they exist in solid dose forms and converting them into oral sprays. And we work with drugs that have previously been approved, so we know they're safe and we know they're effective. And we just leverage the fact that a lot of the work has been done. And so while we're focusing on converting them into an oral spray, the main part about that is that we get them into a more user-friendly, but also a format that we know there are a number of advantages like faster onset of action. We also know that if patients have to wait for them to be broken down in the digestive tract and a lot's excreted, they have to take more of the drug. So we can give patients less drug, which might make a safer product. But also it opens up access to patient groups that are not capable of taking a particular medication. So in the case of pediatrics, the elderly, they have difficulty swallowing. But also we see in the acute setting, if in the example of someone having a seizure, for example, they may be able to take an oral spray for more effective delivery.
And remind us about ZolpiMist. This is your lead product here, is it?
Yeah, that's right. That's our most advanced product. It's a ZolpiMist, which is an oral spray version of the drug Ambien, so formerly Sanofi's blockbuster drug, and it's for the treatment of short-term insomnia. And so for that drug, we know that we've shown that in clinical studies, that by having it as an oral spray, you do get it into the bloodstream faster. So again, it just helps people fall asleep much more quickly, which is beneficial in the case of a condition like insomnia.
And in the first half, you received TGA approval for it.
That's right. And that was a very big milestone for SUDA. It's the first approval that the company has received for any of its products. And that included an amendment, which was for a new active pharmaceutical ingredient supplier, but also a finished product manufacturer. So it was good work from the team internally to get that through a tough regulator like the TGA. So very pleased with that outcome. And what that means now is that it's listed on the Australian Register for Therapeutic Goods. And so we can commercialise that across Australia. We are still looking to secure an Australian partner for that drug for commercialisation. And importantly, though, that documentation that comes with the TGA approval, that supports our partners like Teva, the world's largest generics manufacturer, in getting their regulatory submissions completed and commercialising the drug, which is important.
But you do have license and supply agreements outside of Australia for it.
That's correct. We've got license and supply agreements already in place with Teva, covering Brazil, Chile, and Mexico, as well as Mitsubishi Tanabe Pharma Korea. And the plan for the drug is to continue to create additional licenses and supply agreements throughout the world.
So how soon could it be available in Australia?
That's something that we're working on at the moment. And the moment we can secure an Australian partner and making sure that we've got the right partner that we know we can work well together with, and we can get that drug out there, that's when we'll have that on the shelves.
And how big's the market for a product such as this?
Yeah, so insomnia it's a particularly tricky market to estimate in terms of size, but it's about around the 10% mark of adults will suffer from the condition. So it's considerably large. And when we think about things like COVID, we know that that's going to potentially increase the level of challenges that people will find themselves under, and then some sensitivities around mental health. So having drugs like this that can really assist in those situations, I think, is really important.
And Michael, tell us a bit more about your cancer drug, anegrelide.
That's right. So anegrelide's the drug we're using to treat patients that have cancer, but also elevated platelet levels. So in late 90s, early 2000s, that drug was approved for the treatment of a condition called essential thrombocythemia, where patients have too high blood platelet levels. So it's been in clinical use for about 20 years, but we know that patients that have cancer and high platelet levels, they also do very much worse in terms of survival. And now that's been shown across numerous cancers, lung cancer, ovarian, renal cell carcinoma, just to name a few. And so what we're doing is repurposing the drug into an oral spray. And that's to go around the limitations of the pill form, which was when it went through the digestive tract, it was converted into an intermediate that's bad for the heart. And so we completed a study at Covance in the UK in the last half, and the data was quite promising, demonstrating that for one of the formulations that we'd developed over the course of the year, we could get more drug into the bloodstream, and we also saw a lesser increase of that intermediate that's bad for the heart. And so what we're expecting is we can lower the dose of the drug given to patients to treat their cancer. So hopefully we've got a safer product that can increase lifespan of cancer patients, which would be great.
So are you planning some further toxicology studies?
That's the next step. So once we get the formulation finalized, and so we've got some optimization to do around that on that front. And so we're working with a group in the UK called MedPharm. So they're a global leading contract development and manufacturing organization. Once we have that formulation finalized, what we'll do is move into the formal part of the program where we complete some safety studies. Now, again, because that drug's been approved previously, we won't have to complete all of the testing that goes into a normal drug development pathway. So we should have a shorter path to getting the drug into use into humans in clinical trials.
Did you have a patent granted for metastatic disease in Australia?
That's right, correct. So last half, we're very pleased with that outcome that the Australian Patent Office granted the patent in Australia. So that adds already to the patents that we've got in Japan and also covering Europe. And so what we'll continue to do is prosecute that patent across North America and China and other territories. And it's a really important value creation step in biotech, because those patents essentially lock others out from bringing drugs that would compete in the same space. So very pleased to get those patents granted. And as I said, we'll look to create more IP around that product.
So some good progress made in the first half here, Michael. How do these developments fit in with the wider strategy that you've got at SUDA?
Well, I think looking at our portfolio, where we sit now, we've got some very exciting technologies, obviously an approved product in the form of ZolpiMist and Negrelide. We're progressing well into getting a final formulation. And I would say our focus areas are oncology and the central nervous system. And so over the last 2 years, let's say, SUDA has really changed over the board and senior management group. And so what we are also looking to do is leverage the expertise of that team, which consists of a lot of biotech, venture capital, and commercialization experience across various life science technologies. So we'll look to leverage that experience by bringing new technologies into SUDA. And again, they'll focus on those particular areas of interest, oncology and the central nervous system.
And slightly nearer term, 2021, what's this year about for SUDA? What would you like to achieve?
So this year is about, again, focusing on ZolpiMist to work with our partners, Teva, Mitsubishi, and progressing those partnerships so that we're getting closer to commercialization of the product. Once the product is commercialized, that's then royalty streams come in to SUDA from net sales, which is exciting. Certainly for Negrelide, we look to finalize the formulation and move that towards the formal preclinical toxicology work. And certainly, as I mentioned just previously, bringing new assets into the business is a part of the business strategy moving forward. So looking forward to that as well.
And how's the balance sheet looking?
Yeah, very good. It was great over the course of the second half of calendar year 2020 to have a good amount of support from our current shareholders, but also nice to have new and sophisticated investors getting involved and demonstrating their support for the business. So we've capitalized to continue with our internal development programs and to look to source, evaluate and acquire new technologies. And again, just pleased to have the support of our shareholders.
That's good, Michael. Thanks very much.
Thanks very much for having me, Andrew. Appreciate it.